Up first, this man doesn't just discover diamonds in the rough, he polishes them, sets them in platinum, and lets them shine on the world stage. He's the architect of achievement, the kingmaker of content creators, and the benefactor of budding esports legends. He's given countless gamers their first taste of triumph, including 4 Fortnite World Championships. It's the Emperor of Esports, it's the Chief Simplifying Officer. It's Knock.
Yo, let's end this year strong. I want to shield a different game for the first time in 98 episodes. I just bought Foundation last night, and I've logged like fucking 12 hours since I purchased it. It is so fucking good. Go play it.
Dude, in a world with fucking Marvel Rivals, Supervive, and the other like 14 amazing games that have released in the last month, Knock is still down in the indie gaming trenches, picking out bangers. Excited to look at that one, man. Up next, prepare yourselves for a powerhouse panelist with pixels in his veins and muscle to match. He's not just a lover of indie games; he's a lifter of the underdogs, a champion of the quirky and the creative. I'm talking about the back-to-back silver medalist in Super Smash Bros. Tournaments and the newest member of the Gaming on AVAX team. Get ready to rumble with the indie icon, the Smash Bros. Slayer. It's Wills.
Hold up, I'm just downloading Foundation. I'll be right there.
Will's going to be setting some world records throughout the rest of the episode. Excited to check in on that. Up next, from the labyrinth of Dungeon Siege 2 to co-founding an organization acquired by Activision, his designs have left imprints on gamers worldwide for decades. And with over a decade of innovation, specifically at Microsoft, he chose not to rest on his laurels, but instead leapt forward into the future. Now he works on his magnum opus at Coin Games, a trading card game with looks to revolutionize TCGs with a relentless focus on unparalleled user experience and ownership. Please welcome to the visionary whose past fuels the future. It's the king of Coin Games. It's Kevin Lambert.
Unparalleled ownership. I see what you did there, Sam. Love it. Great to be here, man. As always, happy to love jamming out this last episode before the holidays with you guys, you fine folks.
It's great to have you again, man. Thanks for the acknowledgement on that little pun. Anybody that doesn't know, Kevin Lambert, not only is he a game studio founder and a Web2 legend, he also is a like top 100 parallel TCG player at any given moment in time. So always impressed by that personally. Up next, from 360s on the slopes to 360 no scopes, he's the master of momentum and a wizard of winning. Whether it's clutching dubs or dodging defeat, this guy has more comebacks than a rubber band. Before becoming head of community and partnerships at Shrapnel, he was carving through the sporting goods world. Now he's the sharpshooting strategist who never loses his grip, even when the stakes are sky high. Fasten your headsets and get ready. Or ready your reticles. Jesus, I'm in shambles, guys. The end of the year, I'm tired. I'm beaten up. Sultan of sniping, the Duke of Dubs, the pundit of precision. It's Dub.
Yo, what up? It's an honor to freaking be here, and an even greater honor to get an actual intro in the first place. So thanks for finally bringing that to me. Excited to dive in. I'm actually playing parallel right now, trying to secure top 150 so I can make it to the last chance qualifier for the World Championships, because God damn it, I want to win this thing.
Speaking of parallel, Koji is dead to me because he's late. He actually told me he would be late, but still, I wanted to do his intro, so he's dead to me. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be bedazzled by the man who can juggle millions like they're marbles and manage budgets bigger than your wildest dreams. He's the architect behind Glitter Cloud Solutions, a sparkling Web3 consultancy with a name as sweet as the daughter who inspired it. He's not just a financial wizard who once wielded a $100 million budget at Twitch Prime, but also a beloved figure in the world of Web3 gaming. Let's give a warm welcome to the Titan of Twitch, the Baron of the Budgets. It's Tony Valkersel.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Excited to be here. Thanks for having me up. Looking forward to having a good chat today.
Big Tony, always coming in with that energy. We appreciate you, man. Up next, once a fearless firefighter taming flames, he's now dampening delusions with his uncompromising honesty. When he's not here mesmerizing minds, he's an uptick orchestrating performance marketing masterstrokes and sealing deals with the stars. Plus, he moonlights as somebody who lies to my mom about his height and weight. Give it up to the multifaceted, magnanimous marketing maestro. It's Jerry, the Golden God Singer.
Yeah, I gotta send you back home with a bottle of wine or something to beg for forgiveness from your mom. Yeah, she's really holding on to this and not letting it go. I just want to plug something real quick, Sam. Paisan and Kagi are gonna beat the shit out of each other tomorrow, I think. And they're two Web3 gaming guys who've done a lot of good work to try to push the space forward. So go support them tomorrow, guys.
At least one of them has, but I'll be there to watch the fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it, but we're all hoping Python beats the shit out of him, right?
We'll just take that part out of the recording, but yeah, we all agree. Anyway, moving on. He's the ace up Web3's sleeve and the wild card in the world of wagering. This next guest didn't just play the hand he was dealt. He shuffled the entire deck, turning Macau into a glittering jackpot of high stakes and poker power. From the risky rolls to royal flushes, he gambled big and won even bigger, making moves that rival the boldest bluffs in the business. Now he's going all in with my angry Yakuza girlfriend, stacking chips on innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, bet it all on the Sultan of Stacks, the Titan of Taboo. It's Sinjin.
Hey guys, Merry Christmas, Happy upcoming New Year's, and happy to be here. Let's take this one out with a banger.
Let's go. And then a surprise guest coming up from the audience. Welcome back to Gamified. Behold the beacon of blockchain gaming, a bard who's blazed a trail beyond the bounds of the ordinary. He's buoyed by the backing of Vayner Sports, where his skills and strategy aren't just bolstered, but broadcasted far and wide. A commander of content and Counter-Strike 2, a digital daredevil. Welcome back to the panel, the ballistically gifted, the Vayner Sports signed future pro of CS2. It's the breathtaking Bryson.
Yo, thank you for having me back, Sam. Super excited to be on. Super dope group up here on stage. Smart people all across Web3 gaming. And yeah, Kagi Paisan fighting tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow or Saturday, whatever. But to be honest, I hope that both of them have a great fight and they come out happy, healthy, and like either way, it takes a lot of balls to get in the ring. So shout
It
out to both of those
does.
guys.
It does. I should have said that. They're way braver than I am, both of them. They're both gangsters for doing what they're doing.
Yeah, Joe, fight me.
Let's go, bitch.
You guys actually kind of are in each other's weight classes. Let's see it, boys. Up next, veering into view, is the venerable virtuoso of the virtual, the vanguard of the vast valleys of venture of valor. Veiled in the vestments of a visionary, he vanquishes the vapid, vividly venturing through the veritable vistas of Muir and Uri VC. This vigilant voyeur venerates the virtues of versatility, not merely a vicar of the virtual, but a verifiable wizard in waifu maxi of wondrous wisdom and a god gamer garbled in the glory of game-changing gambits. Behold the visionary, the vanguard, the vanquisher of the void. It is Vidar.
Merry Christmas! All of you are getting coal, so I hope you're happy with it. Enjoy it. Get used to it. If you let Bitcoin drop below 100K, you know, that's your own fucking fault. I have nothing else to say about it. So
Whatever, Vidar. 2 million market cap on coal, baby.
I am the market cap. Also, I am also willing to get into the ring with anybody, regardless of weight class. So who wants to go?
I'll see you there.
Okay, first off, Cole is kind of a banger meme coin ticker.
Yeah, dude.
somebody get on that for the Christmas season. And then second of all, Dub versus Vidar karate combat would be something I would cry laughing at and pay way too much money to see. So something could happen. We are doing a watch party in Salt Lake City / the Wolves DAO. Me and Jerry will be getting together and we'll be watching it from the Wolves DAO. So anybody wants to join up on that, you slide in the DMs. I'll see what I can do. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you got to brace yourselves for the fearless firecracker of fun, the pint-sized power player who always comes in clutch with his quips. At a mighty 2.4 pounds, he's a tiny titan with 10 times the attitude. The charming chameleon of chatter, my co-host, it's Lambs.
GMGM, how the fuck did we get to the end of 2024 already? Man, it's hard to believe we've been almost doing this show for 2 years now. This is going to be a heater, though. Excited to knock this one out before the holidays.
Yeah, and I got to say, one of the great disappointments of my year is the fact that we would have had episode 100 of Gamified on January 1st, 2025, which would have been fucking sick. However, that would have meant we would have had to do an episode on Christmas Day and then also on New Year's Day, and that just seemed like a real bad idea. So we're going to delay that a little bit. We'll be doing it January 14th, I think, is going to be the new episode 100. We hope everybody will come and join us. Also, if you have any rad ideas for things that we should do, I have a bunch of ideas, but you know, they all kind of wax and wane in feasibility, and then also you just don't know what people are actually going to care about. So hit me up.
Award show? The gamies?
The gamies. Should we do a little award show for the boys and girls who make Gamified possible every week? Yeah. That could be rad. Okay. Drop a comment if you think we should do the gamies. Let me know. And of course, we got to give a huge shout out to Avalanche The icy innovators making gamified cooler than ever. Avalanche is the official chain of gamified, and it's not just a flurry of features. It's an unstoppable blizzard of benefits, faster than a snowboarder on fresh powder and more affordable than a used pair of ski boots. It's where gaming titans carve their path, whether you're braving frosty firefights on off the grid, excuse me, as I choke to death, scaling the magical peaks of Maple Story. Avalanche is the snow-capped summit where Web3 gaming shines. Thank you to them for being the official chain of gamified. And at Gamified, you know we shoot for the stars to be the best show in Web3 every single week. And Star Atlas is rewriting the cosmos, matching that interstellar ambition. They're not merely a game, it's a space opera for the ages with high fidelity visuals and gameplay slicker than sliding into a black hole. Star Atlas is piloting Web3 gaming into hyperdrive. They've already proven their might with over 1,000 players soaring through the same galaxy during a closed surge playtest, unprecedented in the universe of Web3. And don't forget the Golden Carnival. Right now, they're giving out $4 million in prizes. A cosmic salute to Star Atlas for sponsoring our voyage here on Gamified. And of course, these guys are the gateway to a world where gamers rule the realm with a terrific toolkit that includes Summon, the secret weapon to player retention, Hyperplay, your fast pass to discovering Web3 wonders, and World Builder, the sandbox where in-game economies are engineered to perfection, and their G7 token, connecting it all. You've got a game changer with that. Thank you to Game7 for being the official infrastructure of Gamified for all of 2025. You love to hear it. We're jumping in with topic number one. It's on tip of everybody's tongue. It's Pengu. They got Binance. Shout out to the Pudgy Penguins. The question here, though, is fact or fiction? Are NFTs back? I'll give a couple quick numbers. We saw the NFTs go up to over 30 ETH, but then they got cut about in half after doing a massive airdrop, harkening back to the Bored Ape Yacht Club days. Every Pudgy Penguin got about 90,000 USD worth of Pengu. I'm not exactly sure what that ended up being whenever most people could actually claim and then be able to sell it, but that's the number that people are quoting. It's currently trading at about $3 billion of a market cap for that token. People are it's starting to recover. People are speculating and holding that Pengu might actually get you access to the chain abstract. But here's the question: is this the new formula for PFP projects? A few games as a narrative, a chain as a narrative, some IP, maybe some physicals as a narrative, and then you drop a token. Is this the thing? And fact or fiction? Are NFTs indeed back? Let's go over to Lems first.
NFTs are so back, and Pengus are leading the way. Yeah, I saw like Cirrus do a post. Anyone's not familiar with him, he does some crazy trading. But he said if you bought a Pudgy the day before the token launch and you bought it at the tippy top, and you claimed your token, it was within like an hour basically of the token launching, and sold everything, you would have made 7 ETH, which is like profit, which is kind of insane, even if you bought the very top. So they definitely rewarded their holders pretty handsomely. I think Penguins definitely took the right approach. Luca had talked about token, I don't know, at least a year or two ago, but was like, I'm not going to do it until the time is right. And it looks like he waited until the time was right with wait until they built a bunch of stuff. Now they have like the link to abstract and everything. So I definitely think they've breathed some life back into NFTs. This will not be replicable by other PFP projects generally, I would say. Like, you know, all of them can't just like do the same thing and have repeat the same success. Like Pudgies have built a ton to get here. You know, I think there's some that may be able to replicate some of that success. Like we've seen like Zuki have been building, got their anime and stuff like that. You know, Doodles have been doing some good stuff with partnerships. So maybe the class of 2021 PFPs are not completely dead, but as we've seen, some are dead and have disappeared, like Artifact and things like that. So it definitely won't work for everyone, but it definitely sets the stage for some people to try and emulate some of that success.
I want to send it over to Kevin Lambert next. Kevin, what are you thinking? Is this the new playbook for PFP projects? And where do we go from here?
Well, let me start by commenting on the Pengu claim. Holy crap, what a masterclass in both UX and like Web3 culture, like rewarding the people who have been here, like having a good sense for which, you know, what criteria to give eligibility to. You know, if you've been here a while, you felt like you were included. If you were holding a penguin, of course you're included. And just like the narrative and the, you know, getting involved in that. And the UX of the website was also amazing. Like the website didn't go down. It had juicy animations with the Coke tokens going through. I don't even hold a Pudgy, first of all, and my experience was great. Just the linking of all the wallets. They're like, oh, we noticed you have a cluster. What the hell? You want us to add the wallets for that? We're gonna go ahead and do that. Like it was just so juicy. that it was great. Like, so on the UX front, it's absolutely the playbook for how you should do a claim. Um, and then are NFTs back? Yeah, I mean, I think NFTs are back when people get to have experiences with them, right? And how do you get that? Well, you have a game, you have something you can do, you have some exclusive access to something. You get to go take it to Walmart, you get a discount. Whatever that experience is, outside of art, in my opinion, that's when NFTs are back. And they're coming back because we have all these banger games in the wings being developed, and they're going to launch in 2025 in 2026. And the NFTs are definitely going to officially be back between now and then, in my opinion. I don't know about art only NFTs, but NFTs as an asset class for sure, because we're going to see things that you can do experiences with them that you just haven't seen before. We're going to try to light some of those up at Coin. And but you asked, like, is that the playbook? A few games, a chain, then drop a token. The thing I like most about what you said is that you said drop a token at the end of that rather than at the front of that, which was kind of like the 2021 playbook. We're dropping a token, hashtag trust us, bro, and then we'll see you in a couple of years. I think that playbook is dead. And the new playbook is, when there's a token, there's immediately something to do with it. And there in the best case, there's already a product or experience or something, so you know what you're getting into. So yeah, I think NFTs are coming back, but they're not quite back yet, maybe is my short answer.
I love it. Great take. I want to send it over to Jerry next. Jerry, are NFTs back? Do you agree with Kevin Lambert here?
Yeah, I think it's fact that NFTs are sort of back. And I think you can't argue with that. The market's good. People are excited again. There's new people coming in. I think we're all getting the texts of being like, hey, like I just got a text yesterday. My buddy the firefighter, I was like, yeah, you should buy Bitcoin in like 2021. And he's like, oh, I fucking sold it when, it was low. And now I regret that and everything. So we're all getting that experience, right? But listen, I think, to look at Pudgy's and being like, well, they did it, like, can we? And Pudgy's never really went away, right? Like, we've all been talking about the good shit that Pudgy has been doing as an organization for like since the early days of this show, at the very least. So I don't trust some of these teams to put out a Twitter post. Do you think I'm going to trust them to go land a deal with distribution in Walmart and build a chain and build a good claims page like Kevin's talking about and then go execute on all these things? No, I don't. And there's a lot of NFT projects that are not going to be able to do those things. So those aren't back, right? But the teams that are exceptional people, yeah, it's a great time for them. And if you are one of those teams, yeah, you are frothing at the mouth to start to like execute on some of your go-to-market plans. So those teams will do so well in the next year to 2 years, and I think they have a playbook to follow. Is it the playbook? I don't think so. But when you do the things that Pudgy's done, you create your own narrative and you create your own playbook, and you execute against that. And I think you've seen that now one of these legacy IPs in the space has been able to see a full life cycle of that and execute against that. So I think that shows that there is a place for like the culture and the IP brands that are in the space, like the Azukis, like the Bored Apes. But now they need to go and do the things to execute against that. It's not going to be necessarily the Pudgy playbook, but it can look like that, or it can rhyme with it. So yeah, I think they're back. I think they're back as long as we allow them to. And I think as the consumers in the space, the moment we start aping into all the dumb shit, and I'm seeing that already, NFTs won't be back anymore because people will get burned again.
All right, Dub, let's hear it, man. What are we buying the top of in our NFTs back?
Yeah, dude, just check my wallet and whatever I have listed, just buy that up, boys. Not financial advice at all. And for me, like I feel like NFTs are back because people are making all this dumbass stuff. Like I'm seeing PFP collections that are not linked to tokens or not linked to a game or whatever, do like mint out and then do a 3x within 24 hours. So like for me, that's a clear indicator that it's back because the dumb money's back and it's spending on weird, wild stuff. And like, I'm going to take advantage of that. And I'm all for it. The other thing is, I don't think that Pudgy Penguins has a playbook that anyone can just go and orchestrate on. I think it's more of a dream book that everyone's going to aspire to be like and dream to have the same type of rollout. And but they are like they have very unique market timing. They have very unique market situations. They have very unique individuals working on the project and have been involved for a long time. So I don't think anyone's going to be able to take a project and just follow the same things that they did and see the same success for sure.
I'm glad you brought that up because the fast follows worry me as well. One of the things that you didn't mention is the trust that they've built over the last 18 months of building in public and letting people follow the journey. And I'm afraid that somebody's just going to be like, "Oh, launch a chain and sign a few games, and then we can be a coin that's worth $3 billion." Like, that's not how it's going to work, from my point of view. Let's go over to Tony V, then we'll tag in Knock.
Yeah, I think that the Pudgy playbook is one of the most interesting things to observe in the space, especially because it happened right alongside the Magic Eden launch, and those are two companies that are pretty, I would say, have pretty equal like brand awareness in the space, right? Like I think everyone knows who Magic Eden is. I think everyone knows who Pudgy is, and the overlap is probably like a circle. But one of those companies was is currently valued a lot higher than the other and launched higher than the other. But look at Matsky, and they have like I think hundreds, but probably tens of millions, but probably I think hundreds of millions of dollars in like top line revenue every year. They employ dozens, hundreds of people, however many people work there, and they have like functional products in the market. And so the thing that I find interesting is that with all that said, the trust and the goodwill that honestly Luca has built, and the group of people he's surrounded himself with, I think is a testament to the difference in the type of investment or the type of spending that we see in Web3 versus Web2 still, because like it just like flies in the face of fundamentals. But it's I think encouraging for people that want to be parts of brands or ecosystems that are like quote unquote trying to do the right thing. Like I look at the way that Pudgy did their airdrop or their claim, and I agree, it was butter smooth. They clearly put a lot of time and effort into making sure that the UX was top notch, and there were no like just enough or just okay decisions made. And also they took the time and effort to really have the challenging conversations about how to like meaningfully reward everyone that was getting rewarded. And I just think that's something that you don't often see in Web 2 or Web 3, to be frank. But I do think that, echoing Dub, it's going to be like an aspirational thing for a lot of people that haven't built that goodwill in the space yet.
Okay, well, since two people said it, I'm gonna share my own personal anecdote here and say the UI is beautiful. I love all the different categories for which you can earn the airdrop and stuff. I thought that was really cool. But calling it butter smooth from my personal experience is horseshit because I tried to claim, couldn't claim. I was in a group chat full of people being like, "What the fuck? I can't claim. How is anybody claiming?" And then one dude would be like, "I claimed," and then like 30 people would be like, "Oh, you lucky bastard!" And it was kind of a mess. But with that being said, whenever it's a $5 billion coin or whatever it was at launch, and you have that many people that you're trying to reward, I don't blame you for not having a smooth experience. I just wanted to make sure that both sides were accounted for there. Lems, you unmuted for a sec.
Yeah, I was going to say my experience. It was smooth. It was really smooth if it went well for you. But I know lots of people, like some people, having ledger issues and things like that. Like I think the overall experience was nice in the way they had it and like the way the coins felt like rained down and everything. And if it went well for you, it was really smooth. But there was definitely like traffic overload, which kind of makes sense considering it was probably like one of the most hyped airdrops that was happening.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're using a ledger, if you're like safe, I guess they'll. By the way, don't listen to me. Not financial advice. Everyone should use a ledger.
Yeah, of course. Nothing you hear today is financial advice, and definitely not security advice either. I was not using a ledger, and I was still down bad. Let's go to Knock, and then I'm going to tag in Bryson.
Which part am I not listening to, Tony? The don't listen to me part or the everybody should use a ledger part? Uh,
Yes.
so I'll say this. I think that this is an overnight success 2 years in the making, right? And I think that we have, I really appreciate the fact that we are talking about this. And I think it's a good opportunity for people who are maybe new to the ecosystem. This is the first cycle that you're going to be participating in the space, or you haven't really seen much of last cycle. You kind of joined during the bear. This happens at multiple times a cycle with a bunch of different teams that we go, is this the new standard? They have a bunch of success. Everybody's all surprised. We have a bunch of people who try to replicate and really half-hearted and frankly pretty shitty examples of teams who have tried to do something similar to what Pudgy has just done. You're going to see it a dozen times over the course of this next cycle. This is a team that has been in the space for many years. They have been building on top of momentum. They have been getting clowned for some of the things that they've done in the past. Things like getting into Walmart and releasing toys and focusing so much on digitals. And all of that work that they have been doing and fighting through the ecosystem, people making fun of the things that they've developed or thinking that they're not a gaming studio. None of it really matters, right? When you release a token and it runs to $4.5 or $5 billion FDV. That only happens when you have laid a foundation and you have a strong business. Pudgy is a team that is generating real revenue outside of the Web3 ecosystem, which you can count the number of NFT teams on like four fingers that are actually doing that. So I think that in and of itself is incredibly important to understand. The second piece is Luca, for a very long time, has been incredibly public about what his goals are and how he wants to build the Pudgy brand. And all he does repeatedly and very demonstratively on social is show that they have the actual tactical execution power to deliver on the things and deliver on the vision that he had for Pudgy. We've seen this happen over the course of the last few years. This isn't something that is easily replicable. There might be one or two teams that do this over the course of the next cycle. I know that we're probably going to have a very similar conversation when Azuki finally pulls the trigger and announces that they're doing something similar. And we're going to be like, oh my God, Azuki token runs to 2 or 3 billion FDV. Is this going to be the next meta? No, the answer is no. They've been around for 3.5 years. This is not something that a new team from this cycle, or frankly, even a team who was launched in the last 3 to 6 months, will ever be able to deliver on, at least to this scale. This is a very long time coming, and we're going to see them continue to dominate because they have a track record of being able to execute. I think people get euphoric when you see a token claim of multiple billion-dollar FDV and they think NFTs are back and we're so fucking back, bro. We're going to get airdrops and free money's coming out of nowhere. But if you look at the list of the teams that have launched their token over the course of the last few weeks, with Magic Eden, with Pudgies, with rumors of OpenSea coming, these aren't teams that appeared in the last 6 months. These are teams that have been here since 21 or earlier and have been slowly building towards, building up the goodwill, building up the product, building up the revenue to back a multi-billion-dollar FDV. This is not something that's going to happen from your run-of-the-mill team. Most NFT collections over the course of the last the next 6 months are going to absolutely flop, just like they always have historically. There's going to be some outliers, but Pudgy is not a good barometer for where the market is or will be.
Sounds like he's saying old NFTs are back, but the jury is still out on new NFTs. Bryson, sending it over to you, buddy. What's your take on if NFTs are back and sort of where you see Pudgy going from here?
Yeah, I mean, I think he makes like some very spot on points. When you look at what Pudgy has built and what Luca has built, I think the business system and the infrastructure behind it is very key and pivotal in how they got to where they are. And I mean, as someone, coming from the traditional world, if you tell me like a brand, any brand in Web3, like is worth like a $5 billion fully diluted valuation. And I think Pudgy is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but still, like it remains to be seen if like they completely can validate that number because it is such a high number, and we are in this euphoric point. But I do think that out of all the teams that have built NFT projects that have understood the value of building traditional businesses on top of these digital assets, I think Pudgy and Luca is probably the most spot on we've seen in the space. So I think that they need time to build. But to your point, I don't think we can like look past the fact that a lot of what the overall huge height in the price of Pudgies also was contributed to like the impending airdrop, and then we saw the dump. So I think a lot of it is also market speculation propping up things maybe more than what they're actually valued for. Not saying that Pudgy shouldn't be in the multiple billions of valuations, but to think like 5 to 7 to 10 billion, like I think we're definitely at a euphoric point where it's like, okay, that's grounds to believe that NFTs have to be back in a certain standpoint. But to Knox's point, we're talking about a team that has been tried, tested, and building through iterating years and understanding they've gone through the space of people calling them cringe and they don't know what they're doing, and him keeping this steadfast vision. I don't necessarily think NFTs are completely back either. I think speculation's back. But in terms of true derived value being behind like all of these, like a majority of these projects, yeah, I think like the idea of them getting to the point of being able to build anything remotely close to what Luca built is like, wishful thinking. I think everyone should use the idea of what Pudgy has built, at least from the NFT standpoint, to really hone in on how do we grow our IP and add levels of virality. But I think we're also like, missing the point of Luca had a very strong background in the interconnectivity with, celebrity culture, understanding social media, understanding virality, a lot of things that a lot of these NFT founders coming into the space don't really understand. And I think that like has something to do with it. But I do see a world where like when you look at Azuki, I think they can follow up and do something very similar to what we've just seen from Pudgy Penguins. But there aren't many projects that can get remotely close to that, just based off of pure product and shipping and having a traditional business model behind it this cycle, besides maybe a couple. So I would say that speculation for NFTs is back, but to say that they're back as a whole remains to be seen. The only NFT that I know that has that level of staying power, regardless of if you're getting a token airdrop or not, is CryptoPunks. And I still think that like that's like the Bitcoin of NFTs.
Man, CryptoPunks was on the tip of my tongue the entire time that you were talking because I was asking myself who would potentially be able to sort of mimic this success, and that's the only NFT collection that comes to mind. Plus, you have Bored Apes proving, or I guess I should say Yuga proving that they are willing to mess with that collection with that terrible NFT drop that they ended up rescinding. So maybe they learned their lesson, maybe they didn't. But I could imagine whenever they look at Ape Chain being 1/3 of the value of Abstract Chain or Penguin Token or Pengu, and then on top of that, you're about to get flipped again by Pudgies if it doesn't come back and regress post airdrop. I could imagine them being like, bro, trust me, punk chain, it'll be crazy. And it would be crazy for like 6 months. It'd be a complete fucking train wreck. I want to go to Koji, then we're gonna have Sinjin round out this topic. Then it's time to move on to some more gaming focused stuff.
Yeah, you guys, I love everybody on this panel, but you're way too big brain for your own good. NFTs are 120% back, and I'm gonna misrepresent Knock here, but he said something really important. He said nothing matters when you have when you have a token with a several $billion FTV, and that's 100% true. No one gives a shit about any of that other stuff. They're like, oh yeah, they were clowning on him when he like put up products or whatever. Doesn't matter. Tokens up. Everything he's done is fucking god tier. Pudgy's is fucking god tier, and basically like whether or not NFTs are back, they are back because some I think it was Bryson said speculation's back. That's all it fucking is, man. I mean, don't tell whoever the new Gary Gensler is or whatever, but it's all fucking speculation, bro.
I
Like,
mean, but to an extent, though. But like, for example, what I mean by that is when you look at CryptoPunks, yeah, you speculate on them, but you're not buying a CryptoPunk fit at like double the price if it went from 16 to 30 ETH. People are buying at 30 ETH because the token's
oh,
out. People are buying CryptoPunks because they just
oh
think they're cool.
no, I'm with you. I'm with you. Look, I'm not saying this is how it should be or this is actually how I mean, I'm putting on my sad reality glasses here and being like, look, Pudgy's launched his token. A bunch of people made a bunch of money, right? At the end of the day, regardless of what the numbers are, that's all you need to know. A bunch of fucking projects are gonna say they're gonna do this dumb shit and gonna promise the fucking moon to all these people, and people are gonna rush to throw their money in it, hoping that they catch some like secondary wave of like, well, if this one project did it, I can fucking do it too, right? And then NFTs will be back for a while until the bubble bursts, and then everyone will be shitcoining again or whatever the fuck, you know. So maybe wait a couple weeks or months, and then I don't know, start reinvesting in the next pump dot fund. But yeah, NFTs are back, baby.
Curious, Koji, if I could just double click for just 15 seconds, does that mean, are you speaking as the founder of Parallel or are you just speaking as Koji, the citizen?
As the founder of Parallel, I think you should be responsible with your funds. But if you're looking to allocate some funds in a reputable project, perhaps have a look at the Avatar collection and or whatever other collections that we have that I don't remember. Uh,
One of 5 founders, by the way, so he doesn't necessarily have to remember all of it. Let's go to the Titan of Taboo, Sinjin, and then Knock has the hand up. We'll give him a quick word before we move on.
Yeah, you know what? Like Pudgies have always had their unique path. I mean, Luca is really fantastic at being in the pocket. You know, he's been around, with his, ICO past as well and the promotions and so on and so forth. But solid progress, clear wins, And here's the other thing, like the fact that they listed on so many top exchanges for their launch, I mean, that is a feat onto itself, and them launching with that $1 billion of valuation. I mean, that's a testament to the fact that they were able to do that and execute at that level. And so how many projects could do that, even if they had those wins? But the fact is, like every NFT project, in the last like year and a half has had the chance to fall in their paths, with clear wins, but they haven't been able to execute it, and that really point to knock what he had made. But I don't think NFTs will be back the way they were, just because the speculative aspect of NFTs will never get back to that. And compared to like where the industry is at in terms of with pumped up fun and meme coins and that hyper level of speculation, we just can't compete. But I think specifically gaming NFTs will never be back the way they were across the board, even with great games. But if we have that chance and the potential there, if the NFTs actually provide, I would say, an ROI through gameplay, like the real utility. And that's unfortunately a really long-term play that is much less, based on speculation. But for what Pudgy's has done and the results, I think that also shows, there's still a lot of potential in the space. But I think we will see some level of speculation, though, with if OpenSea actually launches their token, though.
Yeah, it's a lot of liquidity flowing back too, right? Magic Eden, Pengu, potentially OpenSea could be like 4, 5, 6, 7, $8 billion worth of wealth coming back into other ecosystems because presumably a bunch of people dump it like we see with every airdrop. Again, nothing you hear today is financial advice. Over to Knock.
Yeah, sort of adjacent to what you just said, Sam, but I think one of the important takeaways here for both, the consumer side as well as the teams that are leading and launching NFTs and tokens is that what we've seen over the course of the last, let's call it 45 days, is market participants are rewarded, and they're rewarded handsomely. Between Hyperliquid, ME Token, Pengu, we saw multiple $1 billion into the hands of people who are using those platforms or participating within the ecosystem over the course of the last few years. You look at Infinigods launching with 100 or $1.6 million in total sales with that NFT collection. They've been in the space for the better portion of the last 2 or 3 years. They're active ecosystem participants. I think a major takeaway here from what we've seen with the start of this little bull run is that if you have been a participant in the space, if you are active, if you spend time in the market, you are more likely to be rewarded than you are by chasing the hot new thing. And I think that this is a warning to both consumers and creators. From the consumer side, if you come in or you come back into the market and you look to deploy capital and you buy a bunch of NFT sales, teams that maybe you feel like have a bunch of hype. Well, we've seen how that plays out in the past, and it doesn't always work out the way that you think it is. In fact, most of the time, you're probably going to get burned. And from the side of teams looking to launch assets on the backs of major NFT mints like Infinigods or major token drops like Pengu, those teams have been in the space for 3 years. They've built active communities. They very deeply participate within the ecosystem. Those aren't teams who just decided one day, I'm going to launch a token and I'm going to launch an NFT. You cannot do what they did. You will not be able to raise $1.5 million the way that they have. You will not be able to drop billions of dollars the way that Pengu have. You have to be an active participant in the space. So for me, the last, again, 45 days, it is a representation of the number one thing in crypto is time in the market. Stop trying to time it. Stop trying to figure out where the market's going to go. Stop worrying about whether or not our NFTs are back. Do things that excite you. Play around with tools and platforms that are interesting to you. You're going to get rewarded long term, and the best way to do so is by spending time in this space.
We got some great comments. Carney says CryptoPunks won't launch a token. They mentioned they'll let it sit as a legacy digital art collection. Willing to bet on that if anybody wants to take up the offer. Uh, I I I believe that they will do that. But depending on how tight it gets over at Yuga Labs, I could see them doing some crazy shit over the next few years. I hope it doesn't come to that though, because I believe it serves a purpose as a provenance collection. Don Johnson also gave us the quote retweet and says, "Can't believe this is the last episode of Gamified for 2024. I'm definitely listening. Tune in to catch alpha and opinions from the leaders in Web3 gaming." Man, I appreciate that. We try our best. Let's go to Koji real quick, and then we're moving on. I can't wait to get to this next topic.
I sometimes forget that people maybe don't know that I'm very dry and sarcastic. I say all the comments that I just said as like the Pagliacci of Web3, like the sad clown, basically. Uh, I don't want it to be this way. I just think this is the way that it is going to be, but I agree with everything Nock just said. people are going to try to do and promise to do what Pudgy's and maybe some other projects will succeed at, but they're not going to be able to do it. But people are just going to give them money anyway. That's all I was trying to say.
Bro, the Pagliacci of Web3 gaming is crazy. If Koji doesn't go by the sad clown from now on, just forever, get that tattooed on a forearm or something, put on the Bone t-shirt, and we'll just have his whole new identity. All right, we're moving on. Is Shrapnel back? NFTs seem to be back, but is Shrapnel? I want to hear confidence scores. Okay, guys, I know this is a little bit spicy. This is a little bit spicy. I made people do it in the Wolves and Friends Telegram chat earlier today, and it got a little heated. We're of course approaching this only as people that want nothing but the best for Web3 gaming. Shrapnel gets a new fundraise and a new CEO. The fundraise is supposedly led by the Blizzard Fund. Shout out to Avalanche. The studio, which previously raised $20 million in October of 2023, plans to disclose the full details of the new funding round in early 2025. The rumors, this is not confirmed, could be way less, could be way more. Rumors are between $8 and $15 million for that new fundraise. Neon Machine, the parent company that owns Shrapnel, and its majority shareholder, Court Haveron, are still in a legal battle over the supposed coup attempt from Haveron to basically not listen to the board of directors and move the company in a different direction. So that is still being worked out. We don't have any update on that. I have no inside information about it. But the question here, bringing it back to the leadership and the fundraise, we know Shrapnel well. We've played it a bunch over the last year. We know that it's an unfinished product, but it has some promise. People at one point, I would borderline call it the darling of Web3 gaming. So with this adjustment, with the information that we have, what is your confidence score that these changes means that Shrapnel is back? So a 1 would be like, I've got no confidence in the team or the game. A 10 would be like, I am completely confident that this is a turning point for them and I think they'll see success. By no means are we going to troll you if they end up, not working out in 18 months. I'm not going to be like, you said you were a 7, you dumbass. Like, don't worry. This is all just us making our best guess here. I'm going to send it over to Jerry first.
I might have a take that a lot of people disagree with here, but I'm gonna say it's like a 3, a solid 3. Um, which is a lot higher than it was. I think before it was like a 1 or very low. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the lowest of the low, but I had no hopes for them to get the door out or get the game out the door. I think it's pretty clear that the old leadership regime lost direction somewhere along the way. You know, they were like the most anticipated game of the year for 2 years in a row, and then the game came out, and then everything just or they, they did a test, and then everything seemed to fall apart. So, um, I I think that the old leadership team was just not gonna get that game out the door in any way close to what they promised. I think the new CEO they brought in is actually somebody who has some good chops in the games industry and, is, going to get them in the right he knows how to build games, he knows how to ship games. So I think he's gonna get them on track. What is unfortunate for Shrapnel is what did Shrapnel do best? They had an outstanding marketing arm and an outstanding marketing team that really kind of uplifted that project. And those people aren't there anymore. So now Shrapnel has to kind of figure out that problem all over again. Maybe it's a problem to figure out down the road because I think this new guy's going to come in and see things that are kind of all over the place, and he's going to really have to give the team direction. Hopefully, he can do that. But the things that Shrapnel did best are no longer there. So, that sucks for them. But I'm more optimistic that they get something out the door now with these changes in place than I was before. And I really like the old leadership team. I want to say that I like Mark a lot. I think he just kind of lost his way at some point.
Sure, there's a lot of decisions to make along the way. Easy with some influence, market forces, etc., to sort of lose that original vision potentially. I want to send it over to Titan of Taboo. Let's get it in, Sinjin in here.
Yeah. It's still gonna be a AAA project, game where they're gonna want to release. I mean, this was always gonna be tough, and even bringing in an executive from Microsoft, Xbox or whatever like this, I'm not particularly bullish on saying that they're, back on track quite just yet. But, you know, to Jerry's point, where they were at and where they're at right now, at least, there's signs that, they can go forward. At least, because I think that was pretty much in doubt. But, with the legal things still not being resolved, with the success of off the grid, and some other first person shooters that are out there and stuff like that, I still believe that Shrapnel does have its unique proposition. They have a great team, and they've been around. I mean, they know what they're doing in the sense that they have their token out there. They understand the space. They had fantastic marketing before. I'm sure that they'll kind of come back to that, but like, man, I'd give them a 2, right, from a 1, unfortunately. But I think as time goes by, we're gonna see like what that really translates into and whether they have the way forward. But I think building not so public and maybe taking more of the off the grid playbook as a kind of objective to kind of get to the point where their product is as solid as it can, because at the end of the day, with even the best marketing you have, I mean, if you can't meet those product expectations, especially as a game, you're just drawing dead.
All right, some low scores starting out. I'm going to tag in Koji next. Koji, confidence score. Shrapnel is going to turn it around from here, buddy.
I mean, I just put my hand up to yield my time to Tony because at first his hand wasn't up and I wanted to hear his opinion, so I was going to force him to speak. But how confident am I? I don't know, man. I'm gonna say 4, uh, just because like you know the past is a little bit rocky, but the game is still in development, and I think we have a, for better or worse, we have a propensity to count our chickens before they're hatched. I mean, this is the downside to developing out in the open, right? People see your shit and they're just like, "No, you're the best. Oh no, now you suck. Now you're the best again. Now you suck." And like it's just gonna go on forever. And I hope, I honestly hope that they get a chance to be the best again, and this game can be what it was promised to be, and they make the most of the potential that we all saw. But the problem is that we're in a space where it's all about perception, and right now the perception isn't great. So I think we might need to. They have an uphill battle. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, and to be clear, I personally believe nothing would be better for the space than for Shrapnel to have an amazing comeback, to absolutely blow the pants off of us with the next play test, and to have their coin go through the roof. So by all means, I'm rooting for that as a guy who, I said in the Wolves and Friends chat earlier, I'm pretty sure I own 0 assets. I might have an operator in one of the wallets out there somewhere, but I'm a very low stakeholder as far as Shrapnel goes, and I'm very much rooting for them. On that note, though, let's tag in Tony V, the former head of marketing over at Shrapnel, now of course the czar of Glitter Cloud Solutions. What's your confidence score, if you can give us that take there, Tony?
Man, I've never been called a czar before. I like that. I say this as someone whose bags are heavy, and so I am filled with bias. Just for those of you that aren't familiar, all the illusion that's going on here. I was the CMO at Shrapnel until a few months ago, but when I started this agency that I've been doing for the last few months. But here's what I'll say. Little data point that may or may not be helpful. Ken, the new CEO, was at the company before at one point. And so people like the commentary around like he's going to get in and maybe be surprised about what he sees. I don't think that is going to be the case. And I like Ken a lot. I think he's super talented. I think he is the right guy to be in the situation that they're in. And if anyone wants my confidence score, then you need to stop by the Wolves Den at GDC because that's where you'll get it.
Alpha Knight is going to be extra juicy with that one. Let's go to Kevin Lambert, then we'll tag in Dub.
Thanks. It's funny. I actually know Ken because I worked with him, not directly with him, but a lot, adjacent. Ken adjacent. That's got to be a phrase at Microsoft when I was there. Really nice guy. He's been a PM for a long time. Have not seen him in CEO position before, but he knows games. He's a gamer at heart too. Let me lead with the end in mind, which is a 4. on the scale, but let me color that, which I guess is the same as Koji. Um, Shrapnel was one of the. I used to talk about like the barbell of people developing Web3 games. There are the studios who like come from Web3. They were here since 2017 or 2021. They have huge bags and huge treasuries, and they want to build a game because they realize that it is inevitable. See what I did there? But then there's and then they don't have the talent, so they go hire teams and hope to find a good dev studio to make a game. Then there's the other side of that barbell, which is teams like Shrapnel. They came from Web 2. They know how to make good games. They have made good games. They have storied pasts and hits on their resumes, but they came into Web3. They looked for advisors and people who knew Web3, and you kind of hope to hit. And to be totally direct and honest, I feel like the Web3 experience, around their operators and their mints and the Vinnies, for the Vinnies, if you've read my Personas article, was a little on the weaker side, purely not because they didn't want it, just because they didn't have the experience, right? So, and that's really where everybody is here today, is looking at the Web3 experience. It's like, honestly, if you nail that and Web2 comes later, it's all right. But leading with a solid looking Web 2 game and a weaker Web 3 experience is actually pretty hard, and it makes it an uphill climb for you. And I think that's where they're at. So I looked at their game. I watched people play their game at GDC, like at the demo and everything, and it was solid. And people were having a generally good time playing it. The game is looking good. It was in development, but even for an in development game, it was juicy. It looked like if I fast forwarded to a final version of that game from a experienced team like they are, I'd be like, the game is probably going to do very well in Web 2. So the big unknown is the Web3 experience. I'm not sure what changed at their studio as far as the Web3 experience goes, but if they get some rock stars over there that will really uplift the Web3 experience, like Julio did at Pixelmon, for example, then I would like take my 4 and give it like an 8 or a 9. But right now, without knowing that, I have to kind of leave it there and just be optimistic and hopeful.
Appreciate that. I would love to hear people's opinion in the audience as well. We're looking for the confidence score that you think we've turned that around. That they have turned it around. Cairo sent me a DM as well. Cairo, of course, a former Apex Legends pro gamer, now an off the grid genie. He says, unfortunately for Shrapnel, the team at the moment isn't even the biggest problem. The game itself just isn't where it needs to be. The game itself can't compete unless there's major overhauls. Grain of salt, because I think pro players definitely look at games through a different lens. But with that being said, he has some of the most experience outside of probably Dub, who's still on the team there. I'm going to go to Dub actually in just a sec. I want to get some more unbiased opinions here, and then we'll circle our way back to Dub, who's on the team. Knock, let's go to you, then we'll tag in Vidar.
Yeah, I want to give them, a pretty strong 4, maybe 4.5 here. I've been a very big proponent, and I get clowned up for this stuff all the time, but I tend to like to back teams who are making a change and making a change of this magnitude. I mean, we kicked this show off with a topic about a team that everybody loves, and we're cherishing the leadership and the overall direction of Pudgy, but we forget that that was a completely failed collection in which underwent a little bit of a leadership and funding change. We saw something very similar that Kevin mentioned with Pixelmon. We clowned them. We talked about them on the show. And when you have teams who have large sums of capital that have been allocated from outside the space into the space, you want to see them do well, because it's better for everybody if $100 million doesn't fucking disappear and turn to dust, because that's 100 million less that won't come into the ecosystem after them. So you want to see these teams that have large treasuries, who have got experience in the space, who have been building in Web3, find success. Whether that's with the original team or not, I think is irrelevant. So I think anybody who's too quick to judge and say they're dead in the water, this leadership change won't change anything, is hilarious to me, especially because so many of those people were 20 minutes ago excited about the Pudgy Penguins and forgetting the history there. So I think that they've got a chance. Now, is there an uphill battle to climb? Absolutely. There's a lot of uncertainty within the organization. I don't even want to talk about the game. I don't want to talk about the team. I think we all know what a challenge that type of game is. And we all know that, who they're competing against in the space, especially with, the advent of something like Shatterline entering the fold on Avalanche as well. We've got a ton of teams building very high quality shooters in Web3. But from an organizational perspective, I think that there's a lot of uncertainty that needs to be answered, whether that's internally or otherwise. We need to figure out what is going on with that organization. We need to figure out what ends up happening with that lawsuit. Is it going to be a distraction? Is some of the infighting going to spill over? I think these are the important questions that should be asked. The positive here is, they've raised a bunch of money, $8 to $10 million maybe is great. That's still a far cry off from what they're going to need to end up delivering a game of that size and scale. But I do think that they've got an opportunity to build something. I do think that they've got leadership in place that has experience in the world of gaming and understands how to create good games. But we know that that's not a shoe in either, right? So I think that they're, about halfway there. I think over the course of the next 6 to 9 months will be really telling. I think if we see Shrapnel turn it around, it is not going to be something that we discuss in the calendar year 2025. I think it takes beyond that. So I think that this is a team that you've got to kind of just be patient with, sit on the sidelines, and at this stage, whatever happens, happens. But you want to see teams that have raised that much money find success because it hurts the entire ecosystem if they don't.
Great takes there. Let's send it over to Vidar. Just a heads up, guys. We're at the halfway point of the show, and not even through two full topics. So I'm gonna try to go a little bit quicker so that we can get to some of the other meat. But this is a great one. I want to make sure we go through all the hands. Vidar, over to you, buddy.
I'm chewing gum while I'm talking about this. So this is gonna be really casual and try to make it quick for you, Sam. Just for you, buddy. So just for context, I don't have any operators. I don't own any Shrap. The only connection that I have to the project is I know a bunch of the people that work for Shrapnel or work for Shrapnel, and I am friends with some of them. That's my connection. So that's, whatever. Take it for what it's worth. I played the game. I played the game at GDC, played the game in some other places. It definitely needed a lot of work, for sure. Just being honest about it, it needed a lot of work. And I think for how long it was in development, it should have been a little further along from my perspective. But I will say, it had a lot of passionate people working on it. There was a lot of strife inside of the team. Don't need to go too deep into that, but there was a lot of conflicts and issues that arose as a result of that and may have stunted the game's design. And just in general, the game's design as an extraction shooter is extremely difficult to pull off. There's already so many shooters in general that are competing against you, and an extraction shooter is probably one of the most difficult types of shooters that you can even make. So, I know that I've heard at the very least they may be pivoting away from that model. So, I mean, that's good for them. If not, I mean, I hope they can come up with the best thing they possibly can. But a lot of the people that they're bringing in, like was mentioned already, may have already been part of the team. So I don't know how much that's going to impact their development going forward. But hopefully, because they're getting new funding, that there will be more oversight over the project and things can go in at least a little more linear way. They probably do need more help on the Web3 side, to be quite honest. Like legit people that know what they're talking about and know what they're doing. But outside of that, those are my 2 cents.
Appreciate it. Chewing gum or not, let's go to Lems and then we'll tag in Dub.
Yeah, I'll try to be real quick here as well. I'll first say that we're talking about this as a confidence score from 1 to 10, but even the best teams in the space, I would probably only have a confidence score of like 7, maybe 8, because like, let's be real, like games fail, things fail. So like, I don't think I personally, at least, would never have like a confidence score of like a 9 or a 10 unless something was like already out and performing well and doing great and showing like a lot of traction. So like a few months ago was looking pretty grim, and my confidence was probably a 1 or a 2. And now it's probably a solid 4, maybe even a 5, because like, hey, you get $10 million or so, like that's something you can at least work with. You can definitely keep things going. It's not going to get you all the way to the end, but hey, at least you have more life that you can bring into your game, and it's not just like, waiting for your funds and treasury to bleed out. I think Psycho had a really good comment here as well, saying they may have fallen off, but they're starting from a place of brand name recognition that other games would kill for, so the road back isn't quite as daunting. It is an uphill climb, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to right the ship. I think that's a really good point. Like Shrapnel is definitely a recognizable name in the space, so like, that's got something that they got already established, and they can kind of build from there.
Yeah, great point. So often that name recognition is a big part of the game. Let's go over to Dub, then we'll tag in Jerry for a quick word, then we're moving on.
Yeah, holy shit. It's really hard to be in this seat. Like, I've never been so frustrated in my entire career, actually. and it's hard not to take a lot of those comments personally. But like really what for me, I said in the chat and I'll say it here too, like my confidence level is a 7. It's why I show up to the office every day. It's why I have been showing up to the office every day ever since things got really rocky and I saw people I love and who I've started businesses with since decide to depart. But like really the since we've gone through that and since we are a smaller team, like I believe in us a lot more than I did previously. Ken is slotted in really nicely as a leader to this smaller group, and we have cut a lot of the bullshit and we know what our budget is. We know that we're not AAA, actually, Sinjin, I hate to break it to you. We famously we're trying to get rid of calling ourselves AAA and people calling it as well. And we're also not an extraction shooter. We're a team-based arena shooter now, and that's what we're building for because frankly, it's easier to build that. And with the budget we have now, we can deliver that and get that to a point where it's fully out and available. And I'm going to work my ass off to get it on Xbox, to get the best streamers I can streaming it, to get it on PlayStation 2, and to have a successful launch. And that's where we're at. And that's what I'm like really focused on day in, day out at Shrapnel.
I'm always rooting for Team Dub, dude. You love to hear it, dude. A bunch more hands. I really, if give me a thumbs up if you got a quick banger. Otherwise, I'm just moving on because I got to get to the rest of the show, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Sinjin says he has a quick banger. Let's go to Sinjin and Koji. 15, 30 seconds each, real quick.
I just want to say I'm 100% team pair. I'm 100% rooting for you guys. So good luck.
Absolutely, I think we all can agree on that. Koji, over to you, buddy.
Yeah, I also just wanted to say that don't take the confidence scores to heart. If anyone would have asked what the confidence score of like 6 friends in a basement would have been to build a fucking card game that people would actually play who have never built a game before in their life, they probably would have said 0. So I think that Lems's comments are spot on. Like you're not starting from scratch, and what people think right now doesn't matter. It's like what you do and you spit out the other end that will matter. So don't take it all personally at all.
Appreciate the wise words from some people that have been grinding it out in this industry and many others over the past couple of decades. While everyone else, by the way, is stuck in the ice age of crashing servers and cold storage chaos, Avalanche is out here shredding the rule book and carving fresh tracks in the blockchain landscape. With an Avalanche 9000, spinning up your own layer 1 is 99.5% cheaper. Absolutely insane. It's a black diamond of pure innovation. And this isn't just snowblown hype. Titans like Solo Leveling, T1 Esports, are blazing trails in the custom built gaming systems atop their very own AVAX L1s. It's not just a blockchain, it's a full-blown paradise for Web3 gaming. Thank you to Avalanche for being the official the official chain of gamified, whatever the fuck show I'm on. Let's grab a moment also to gush about our game-changing giant. It's Game 7, the grandmasters of glorious gaming galaxies, with 175,000 monthly active gamers gaining ground in the Game 7 portal and 400,000 citizen avatars on chain, plus over $1 million in rewards given out. Game 7 is killing it. Hyperplay is your gateway to making game discovery gracefully glitch free, while World Builder grows gritty economies into gold mines. And with their gargantuan MetaMask partnership, they've opened the gates to 30 million global gamers, inviting everyone not just to grind away, but instead gear up and get going with our official infrastructure. It's Game 7. And of course, gamers, you got to stash the snacks and turn up the volume because it's time to get galactic. With a GDP that rivals a micronation at $21 million, Star Atlas isn't just a game, it's an economic powerhouse in orbit. This isn't just a flight or fancy. It isn't just a flight or fancy. It's a player-owned powered universe already soaring past the stratosphere. Jesus. Okay, we're almost there. But Star Atlas doesn't just stop at the numbers. It's making waves bigger than a black hole. Over 1,700 Cosmic Crusaders gathered at their Impact Summit in Singapore, where Star Atlas has boldly charted the future of Web3 gaming. So here's the Star Atlas, the official game of gamified, setting the standard for space age excellence and proving that in a universe, the players truly rule. Oh, I'm in shambles, boys. The flu from Art Basel in Manila is still holding me down. The next topic of the day is Unreal Engine 5. Is it actually all that it's cracked up to be? There's a lot of hype around Unreal Engine 5 whenever it first came out. People started building with it, but as time has gone on, it seems there are many pain points. Here's a couple quotes from an article that was covering it on VG247.com. It's time to admit, they said, Unreal Engine 5 has been kind of rubbish in most games so far, and I'm worried about bigger upcoming projects. A writer added, I can't help but be worried about all the major studios that have ditched their own tech. I don't think a lot of consumer gamers know this. How many game studios built their own engines to create their own games inside, and they've ditched it for Epic Games' Unreal Engine, which so far, quote unquote, feels quite underwhelming in real use. So do you guys agree that Unreal Engine's 5 usefulness was overstated and these studios might end up regretting their decision to move to Epic's solution? I actually am going to do a really quick story time. I'll keep this one short, but I worked for a game studio that had a product that was in Unreal Engine 4 and the product did not look good. They ended up saying, "Hey Sam, we're going to actually pause this marketing stuff that you've been working on because we're going to upgrade to Unreal Engine 5." And I said, "How long is that going to take?" They said, "It'll take 1 month and it'll look way better. Trust us." I said, "If it takes a month, let's fucking do it, boys." So they implemented it. It ended up taking 6 months. And the only thing that looked better was the lighting was somewhat cooler because they were still using all the same assets that they were using before. And therefore, the only thing that actually changed was the lighting got a little bit better. So that was my own previous experience with a company going from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5. Obviously, there are some games that look absolutely stunningly beautiful inside of the engine, but it does seem to me like maybe it was a little bit overstated how much it would dominate the market going forward. Let's go to Knock.
Yeah, I for one am absolutely shocked that an indie team with a finite budget who was already building a game who decided to make last minute shifts to a brand new engine that they've got no real experience in uh overestimated or underestimated how long things were going to take and overestimated the impact of, randomly switching something. I mean, this is a relatively new engine, man. Like we're pushing the boundaries of hardware. We're seeing things like 47 Ti's and 4080s even having issues with some of the games like Remnant that are running on Unreal Engine 5 and have been built from the ground up within that engine. Um, I think that this is something that is bound to happen over the course of the next few years as our hardware continues to get better, as teams get more experience within the engine spaces, big titles deploy real capital into building games from the ground up. We're going to look back at conversations and articles like this and go like, what the fuck were we talking about? Of course it's going to look better as we make sure that performance and performing computers become more and more accessible and teams begin to develop games with the intention of building that entire product in something like Unreal Engine 5. You're never going to be able to emulate what Epic Games, the literal fucking creator of the engine, was able to deliver with Fortnite when they pushed the Fortnite update because they have all the experience in the world with this platform. And the people who are playing Fortnite, especially pro streamers, have the hardware to make sure that their computers don't fucking melt when they try to run something in Unreal Engine 5. I don't think that that's going to be an issue in 5 to 10 years from now. I mean, this to me is just sort of the whole thing is kind of ridiculous. That article, I read it, is absurd to me. Like people were saying the same shit when 4 came out. People were saying the same shit anytime any new technology comes out, like ray tracing. When that came out, everyone's like, "Oh, great, the light's better." But have you seen a game that was created before that was enabled? Like it's a minute thing when it first happens, but when you become accustomed to playing games that look a certain way over the course of 5, 6, 7 years, and you look back at games that you used to play, it's like, how the fuck did we ever play this? Something like Call of Duty 4 versus what we just saw in Black Ops 6, it literally looks like it was created on two different planets. Never mind, from different engines, never mind, decade and a half apart. It doesn't even look remotely similar. So, yes, we're going to see teams build on this. We're going to see teams have success. I'm not at all surprised that there are growing pains with a new technology that happens to be a little bit of a resource hog with a bunch of teams who just randomly decided, fuck it, we've built our entire game and we've built all these assets, let's just port it over and it'll magically look better. That doesn't make sense to me. I think Unreal Engine 5 will be more widely adopted over the course of the next decade. As hardware gets better, it'll be easier. This to me is just growing pains.
Great take. Interestingly, of the hands that we have up, 0 of them are game developers. I thought Koji, Sinjin, and Kevin Lambert would eat this subject for breakfast, but it's everybody else wanting to chime in. That's okay if you guys don't want to. I'm just surprised. Let's go over to Vidar, then we'll tag in Will Spangler.
I'm not a game developer, but I am a game designer. It's a different thing. But aside from that, I'm also an end user of this kind of stuff to an extreme extent. And as somebody with a 4090, I can tell you that Unreal Engine 5 eats my shit for breakfast. It destroys my frame rate. Even when I And I like to put everything on high. Okay, let's be real. I have, ray tracing everything on ultra as high as it can possibly go. But still, it's a resource hog. And if you don't know how to optimize your game when you're doing this, you are going to destroy people. You're going to destroy their rigs. I still have nightmares about Diablo 4 exploding people's video cards. And that didn't have anything to do with Unreal 5. But I think that a lot of people are just doing it because it's definitely, what's the word? It's what's hype. It's what's new. It's what's cool, right? And it's another marketing shtick. If you can put that into your game, you can market that, hey, our game is built on Unreal 5. Everyone's going to be looking at you like you're the second coming of Jesus Christ. It's a lot less about that, and it's a lot more about your gameplay. Is your gameplay good? Is it fun? Do you have good gameplay loops? I mean, I could give a fuck less if you're using Unreal 4, Unreal 5. And yeah, Knock is right. The lighting is extremely apparent when I have ray tracing off and on. You can see it. There's huge lighting differences, but I would much rather have a game that, one, I can play at the same frame rate as my monitor so that there isn't stuttering, and two, that has a great gameplay loop that makes me want to go back on, because the graphics, looking at something that's pretty, I'll play the game maybe through once if it's okay enough, right? And then I'm never going to touch it again. So please, focus on your gameplay, not so much on, hey, let's get on this new fucking engine that people don't even know how to optimize correctly yet.
A few of our developer buddies here willing to answer the call. Spangler, I'm going to skip you for just a second. We're going to tag in one of the devs, and then we'll double back to you. I want to go to Kevin Lambert, then we'll double back.
Thanks, man. What do you think about porting Solitaire over to Unreal Engine 5? I think it might actually be pretty cool. But no,
The fidelity would go crazy, Kevin. It would be Balatro 2.0.
Do the lighting on the cards.
RTX Balatro.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's a better fit. So here's the game dev perspective on engines. Usually the game developer will say, all right, what kind of game are we making? What kind of audience are we trying to hit? And how much are we really going to be able to take advantage of the juice that an engine like Unreal has to offer, right? If you're making a game and it's got realistic environments and you want photorealistic experiences and you want to be or VR or something like that, and it really becomes a tough decision and a point. You might want to do it. There are genres that absolutely would not benefit and might even harm for it, like a card game. A casual game is even a good example of that. Casual games just don't need that. Unity has been great. A lot of games that I have worked on in the past 12, 15 years have been totally fine in Unity. And it never even came up that maybe we should consider Unreal. But, back in the first person shooter days, that's different. You have those considerations. I think that from Epic's perspective, and even just game developers in general, a lot of them just want to be on the latest cutting edge. And if you don't have a goal of we want, I don't know, 100 million or 1 billion players, being on cutting edge engines that melt your graphics cards is okay, knowing that 5 years from now everybody will have hardware that'll crush it. It will catch up. But being at developers, it's exciting to develop on the latest greatest hardware. And Epic knows they have a big audience. They have a huge audience with Fortnite, so they're not just thinking, well, let's just make something niche here. So it is a little weird to me to hear the feedback that their 5 is not going as wide as their some of their greatest games have. Maybe they're just their tech side is just really flexing here of look what we can do. We really want to show what's possible while hardware catches up. So it's a little strange. I think whoever just spoke recently, I'm not sure if it was Knock or one of the other folks who said, really, it's just about the gameplay. That's where the decision is. If you make great gameplay, it doesn't matter what engine you're on. It doesn't matter what database technology you use. It doesn't matter if you use blockchain or not, right? It's just make a great game. That's all that matters. So if you were building the next big realism simulator, I think Unreal 5 and the Unreal Engine would be a good potential home for that. Outside of that, I don't know. I would rather have a wider audience personally and go with an engine that can hit 100 million machines easy.
So I think we all agree that good gameplay trumps whatever the fuck engine it's on. But Kevin, if you had been building your own engine as a game studio for the last 10 years, given what you know about Unreal Engine 5, would you throw it in the garbage and say, hey, we're adopting this because we trust, not only do we think the product is good, but we also trust that Epic is going to continue to make this thing better over time?
I do believe they're going to make things better over time. I mean, look how they pivoted when Fortnite came out, and it was not the success that it is today. So they know how to do that, and I believe that will happen here. They are receptive to feedback, so I wouldn't throw it in the garbage, never. Like, but it's just a matter of, do you have time to wait for it to get better, or would you rather, use another product that already is 90% of what you're hoping to achieve, and you don't have to wait for anything. Because I've developed on an engine in progress, and it is tough, right? They'll make breaking changes, and then you find a bug, and they're like, we don't have bandwidth to fix that. We've got other fish to fry. Like, it's very stressful developing a game on an engine that isn't done, dusted, tried and true.
Great take there. Also, appreciate Jonah Blake chiming in the comments. He says UE5, of course, Unreal Engine 5 is great, and several people are actually building forks to optimize it, which I wasn't aware of. That's pretty cool. I don't really know what the forking system looks like there, but that's rad. Let's go over to Spangler now, and then we'll tag in Jerry.
First of all, I take offense to not being called a game developer, as I have attempted many Godot tutorials in my time. Not successfully, but I'm trying. But I think kind of to all the points that the game developers and the smart people have made, gameplay comes first, absolutely. But like all of the tech and all of the stuff that's going to burn up your graphics cards, you like all of that is only able to be maximized by these massive teams, because there's so much depth to the lighting and the character creation and the environments and all of these different bits and pieces. It seems to be this thing that's designed to make the AAA game, in brackets, more AAA. But I think it's worth considering the fact that the last sort of 2 years have been a case study in why AAA is not working. It's because you need hundreds of people to be rigging lights and making environments and doing all of these smaller pieces that people have come to expect. I think Knox said something about, how we move, 5 years in the future, and we're like, oh my God, how will we be playing these games that were made sort of 5 years ago? They look horrible now. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's this sentiment that we're coming up on, the limit of like, how much better can we make this? How much is this going to really move the space forward? And we're seeing this pullback away from, the beautiful, massively multi open world RPG, MMO kind of experience that's all the bells and whistles, into these much tighter, more sort of, more focused gameplay experiences. And whether it's trying to tap into a specific group of people or reach a wider market, you're going to want to do that as cheaply as possible. And it sounds to me, from what everyone's saying here on the panel, that making a game in Unreal Engine is not a cheap way to do that, because you need to have a massive team and you need to be able to address all of these different things in order to maximize that. And if you have $500 million, make that move. But if you don't, there are other options.
All right, a couple more big topics I want to get to. So again, sorry to rush you guys so much today. The first two really ate up the show, but excited to still hear the hands here. Let's go to Jerry, then we'll tag Knock back in. And Coach, your hand was up at some point. I don't know if it's Twitter or if it's just down.
Yeah, I really take exception to Knock saying he can't play a game that's 4 years old, but he puts 6 to 10 hours a day into RuneScape and is happy to do so. Um, Listen, I think we're talking about Unreal 5 and how hard that is to build in, but like just go look at a game development subreddit or look at the subreddits for like Unreal compared to Unity. And Unreal is just a shit engine to build in. I'm not a game designer, I'm not a game developer either, but I talked to a lot of them, and the unanimous thing here is that Unreal is kind of hard to build in, and Unity is really fucking easy to build in. And finding answers to questions for Unreal, like whatever engine, if you're on 4 or 5, there's things that people are like, oh fuck, none of us know. I don't know. Like, good luck figuring that out. So Unreal is just, yeah, it's beautiful. It's a bunch of things, but it's also just a notoriously hard engine to build in, and hard to find people who have the talent and skills to build in them, and you have to pay them a lot of money. I think the real person to blame here is all the dickheads who make like a Super Mario 64 remake, and then they post like a 5 minute like Mario walking in UE5, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, fucking Unreal 5 is like the best thing in the world," and then it pushes people to be like, "Yeah, we should put our shit in Unreal 5 too." And people make a lot of bad decisions because you want to get an Ocarina of Time reboot in like the highest graphics possible. So fuck those people.
All right, fuck those people indeed. I don't see any more hands. I think Twitter might be bugging out. Nock, do you want to rebuttal the man who trounced all over RuneScape here?
No, the ghost put my hand up, but I will say I know it looks like shit. I love it anyway.
The man doesn't care. All right, we're moving on. Off the grid with its biggest update of all time. Big deal, little deal, or no deal. PC players can now enjoy an FPS increase of 10 to 20%. Console should have a 40% better frames per second improvement. The optics system also improved. The game now offers realistic reticle visuals, enhanced magnification effects, and improved accuracy. Recoil and spread mechanics have been reworked to promote a skill-based approach to shooting, in their words. And of course, the newest cosmetic release, Crackhead Christmas, the first Christmas anything I've seen in a long time that actually made me really uncomfortable that wasn't in a horror genre. And then, of course, they've finally created a comprehensive tutorial that is introduced to help new players familiarize themselves with the core mechanics. People originally saying maybe it was too difficult to understand the movement mechanics unless you had a lot of time inside of it. So, does this update, is this a big deal, little deal, or no deal for Off the Grid going forward? Obviously, it made a bunch of noise, got a little bit quiet around here. Curious what you guys think going forward here. Let's tag in Dub.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say it's like a medium deal, but it's a medium deal because it's like concerning for the game itself. I mean, I don't see players flocking to the game after this update. We all know they just got done spending millions of dollars on trying to get UA and trying to get people to stick into the game, and they're not sticking. And the crackhead Christmas stuff, man, is just, it's like watching my dad trying to be hip and hot. Like it's just cringe. And it's not, I'm not happy about, yeah, it's really disappointing. I was hoping that they would be funny and witty in a cool way and not in direct hard drugs use of homeless people way. So yeah, that's why for me it's like it's a medium deal because I look at this as a very bad PR moment for their game as a whole.
Stern but fair. Let's go over to Lems.
Yeah, I actually think overall the patch seems like, yeah, that shit just needed to happen. It's like when games launch early and they just need new things, like having these higher frame rates just feels like a given. Like you just need that shit out there. I've actually a very different take than Dub on the trailer because I only saw it for the first time today. I'd seen the graphic, I didn't realize there was a video trailer to go with it, and I just watched it and thought like, damn, these guys have like really good production quality. Like the quality of that trailer that was made, I was just like, there's a lot of time and money went into this, and it was done very, very well. It was kind of dark, don't get me wrong. Especially like I realized I watched it a second time, and I'm like, wait, was that homeless guy like actually had arms and legs, and then he's like, he's mechanical in the end of the trailer, so like he literally got his his limbs cut off to get some drugs, which is pretty dark. But I just think the way they put it together, I also thought like their narrative and storytelling was kind of cringe when I first saw the game, but then to me that feels like that's the vibe they're kind of going for, where it is that sort of cringe borderline kind of make you feel a bit uncomfortable and you're like, is this funny, is it not funny? Like I think that's actually their style and they're leaning into it, and now that I've seen more of it, I actually think it suits what they're doing pretty well. I don't know, maybe I'm just like an outlier on that, but I thought it was pretty well done overall and could see they spent a bunch of money on it. But at the end of the day, that's not like the gameplay. That is just like marketing material, which is good marketing material. And some of the stuff you said there, Dub, about like it being cringe and making people uncomfortable, like that's, if that's the vibe they're going for and it makes people share it, and then hey, they're hitting the nail on the head. But at the end of the day, the game needs to be playable for people. And I know this has been the biggest issue with optimization since the early access release, which has got better over time, but feels like it probably still has a bit of a ways to go. If they're seeing like, that's a pretty massive jump, like a 40% increase on the PlayStation or on console. So is there more to go? Like it just shows you how unoptimized it was before this, which is a little concerning, but it is early access. So I guess we can just kind of like shrug our shoulders and say that's how it is, because like traditional games come out with so many issues these days and have to have patches afterwards.
Great takes from Lems. Jerry, the last one with the hand up, then we'll move on.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a well, I guess our medium deal is calling it a big deal because we get 3 options. So it's a big deal. It's a good thing, to put in like a tutorial in the game. Like, people that are complaining about their onboarding experience, like you have to solve for that and you have to solve for optimization issues. So those things are really good and if I don't know why I need to say this all the time. Like a good tutorial means better retention. It's a very easy thing to kind of correlate between the two. So that's a really big step for them, and that's a really good thing. I think the bigger issue that they need to face is like they're now having a player liquidity problem from what I understand, and that is like the next thing to solve for. They popped, disappeared. There's not a lot of people playing the games. People are getting matched onto shit servers, from what I understand, and the only people that are playing are people that are playing in the tournaments, and they're way too good for somebody like me to go in and play against, and I have no fun when I play it. So, um, I do take exception to like people getting mad about the way they brand an event or something. Like, is it kind of in poor taste? Yes, but like as somebody who comes on this show and like tries to push the envelope sometimes, like every now and then you're gonna say something edgy and it's gonna be fucking hilarious, and then sometimes you're gonna offend people, and you just have to kind of be okay with that. I think like I miss the days when gaming was a little bit more punk rock and it was a little bit less like corporate suits involved and it had to be clean and like make the shit fun again and understand that like they're probably not trying to hurt your feelings. They're trying to just be edgy and sometimes it's a fine line to walk, and when you step over it, you don't just like barely step over it, you blow past it is how it works. And you don't they probably didn't mean to offend people. They tried to do something and it didn't work and it's not funny. I also am on like the dub side of it, but I don't know. I made a fentanyl joke in Stranglethorn Vale chat the other day and got reported, so maybe I'm biased here.
Wow,
Jerry
dude.
wants to drain the swamp of gaming, man. Make gaming great
Just
again,
make
Jerry.
the shit fucking punk rock again, dude. What are we all fucking getting offended for in video games, man?
Jerry's going to be the mayor of the Crossroads in Baron's chat in WoW Classic on one of the new servers. Good luck. I would vote for you. Cairo in the DMs, he says the tutorial's good. Lobbies are basically full, but that's because crossplay is on. They fixed some stuff, but they ended up breaking other stuff, which is a little bit tragic. But he says overall 6.5 out of 10 update, which from Cairo, I think that's a pretty high mark. We're going to move on to the real game of the year, okay? Not just the Web3 qualified game of the year, as much as I love that. Shout out to Omar and the team at Games GG. Thanks for letting me announce game of the year. That was really cool. But the real game of the year was announced over the last week. Astrobot, the upset win, full of PlayStation IP, took home game of the year. Astrobot also got best game direction, best family game, best action adventure game, and then of course Balatro, which we mentioned a little bit earlier today, won 3 awards, including best independent game. It's excuse me, is this truly game of the year quality? And what's the word for their big win? Was anybody surprised by Astrobot? Let's go to Koji first.
Yeah, the word is nostalgia, man. People love huffing nostalgia and like references and Easter eggs and whatever. It's the reason why fucking the Marvel series, the movies got so big. And the reason basically we do anything these days is like, oh, this reminds me of something from my childhood or whatever. And Astrobot just had the power. It was like the Roger Rabbit of fucking, I don't know.
Oh, we tragically lost Koji in the depths of his copium that he was huffing. We got to go to Vidar now.
Jesus Christ, why are we talking about this, Sam? Everybody knows that these game awards have been rigged for years. For years. Gamers don't decide who wins these things, okay? It's a bunch of pundits in a room that are sucking each other off and are getting money from some of these companies. Oh, who makes Astrobot? Oh, well, it's a Sony game. You can play it on PlayStation 5. Speaking of which, we're also announcing our new game here at the Game Awards, Interstellar, which is going to flop fucking horribly, or whatever the fuck it is, Heretic Profit. It's going to flop fucking horribly, and they're going to lose another 100 million. Can't wait. After they lost another 100 million launching Legos, which got less players than Concord. Holy shit. How do they even have money left? It is wild to me. But anyways, is it Game of the Year? No. Is it fun? Yes, it is fun. I'm not going to say Astrobot's like a piece of shit or anything. It's a cool game, but should it be Game of the Year? I mean, pull up a list of games of the year over the past 10 years, look at them all, and then tell me if it fits. Okay, it's a good niche game. It's fun. It's
The corporate
entertaining.
suits, Vidar. This shit's not punk rock anymore, dude.
Look, the corporate suits can blow me. And also, about the thing that what was it Jerry talking about? We need to stop being so sensitive about whatever, and people getting offended about stuff, or that sometimes your jokes hit or not. I am always irreverent, and I do not give a fuck, and I'm always funny. So whatever. Anyways, it's not game of the year. Moving on. Someone else can talk now.
I saw Knock throwing some big thumbs downs. Real quick, in regard to does it fit? Off the top of my head, I don't have a list in front of me, but I know one of the Zeldas recently won for sure. And then the one that it feels like really fits is It Takes Two, but It Takes Two did kind of revolutionize co-op multiplayer. So I got to give them a hand there, whereas Astrobot, not as revolutionary, just a cool platformer from my point of view. Let's go to Knock. Why the thumbs down?
Because this is something that is not just Vidar take. This is a seems to be an industry wide take, but you can't pick and choose when you like the Game of the Year awards. Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, It Takes Two, The Last of Us Part 2, Sekiro, God of War, Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Overwatch, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Dragon Age Inquisition. That is the list of titles that have won this award prior to Astrobot winning. Just because it's a genre that most people don't like, or a lot of people are older and they think it's kind of cringe that a family game won, does not mean it's not deserving of this title. This notion that it was an undercard or a wild card or the underdog in this award is ridiculous to me because it won 4 of the 5 categories it was nominated for. It's not some game that nobody's heard of, that nobody liked, that nobody played, and it won because it's being produced by Sony. It's a game that won over 2 other really fucking good games in my mind. Balatro and Black Myth Wukong, I think in another year, are both game of the year. I think that this was an incredibly tight race. I disagree with the result. I don't think it should have been Astrobot. I wanted fucking Balatro to win. That game was incredible, but we can't say today we disagree with the fact that Astrobot won. It's all suits, it's all bullshit, yada yada yada. When last year we were all praising Baldur's Gate, and the year before everybody loved Elden Ring, and we all like the awards when our games win. But I think it's disingenuous to say that, and this is not just Vidar, this is the media in general talking about this. I think it's ridiculous to say that this award doesn't matter when a title that you dislike wins. I didn't like Astrobot. I didn't think it should win. It's definitely a really like fucking good game from what everybody has said. It's not a game for me, but it won. It won Game of the Year, and I think it was probably deserving because it won 4 of its other fucking 5 categories, which is just an absurd thing to say that a game like that is an underdog.
The other nominees, for anybody wondering, Final Fantasy, I don't know how to do Roman numerals, so VII Rebirth, Elden
7.
Ring, thank you, Shadow of Elder Tree, Black Myth Wukong, Metaphor Refantasio. That one was out of the blue for me, but it
Actually,
does look.
on that note, Sam, just mentioning that thing, one title, if we want to talk about things I don't think should have been eligible, is I don't think a DLC should be eligible for Game of the Year. And that, like, seeing Elden Ring up there is ridiculous to me because they won 2 years ago when the game was released. I don't think a DLC is a new game.
Yeah, that's fair from my point of view. I think Balatro deserves a huge shout out for what they accomplished as an indie game. I've played a ton of it. I know Will's on this panel has also played a ton of it, but from my point of view, it shouldn't be nominated for Game of the Year just because I don't know. It just doesn't feel like grandiose enough. It just feels like somebody found like a fun way to gamify solitaire, which doesn't necessarily make it Game of the Year in my point of view. Let's on that note go to Will's.
Yeah, okay. But that's what a game is. That's all a game needs to be. It needs to be fun. I'm so glad Nock shares my frustration because Balatro was robbed. Balatro, it may not have been grandiose. It may not have been, an open world 100-hour experience. No, actually, it is definitely an 100-hour experience. But it may not have been the open world ray tracing thing that people are used to. But it just proves that there is innovation to be found in mechanics on their own virtue. It doesn't need to be a giant Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate. Like those games are amazing and they deserve the limelight that they get. And I think Astrobot winning is actually, part of that sentiment. It's just fun. It's just a silly little game that has a bunch of references and ties everything in together. It makes you feel like a part of history of the console, and it made that experience fun. It and I think that the outrage against not another, medieval style open world fantasy type game winning, is this kind of sentiment that people have built up that every game needs to be massive and needs to be giant and needs to be worth $100 million and built by a 100-person team. It doesn't. There's so much opportunity out there if people are willing to look. And that's the real punk rock of gaming, is not, catering to what people expect, but surprising people.
I think I might have said solitaire. Of course, I meant poker. They changed poker, kind of flipped it on its head, and they do deserve a ton of notoriety for that. You know what I'll say? This is a problem that most roguelike games have, or I shouldn't say most, but a certain subset of roguelike games have. And this single-handedly made me put down the game, and I haven't picked it up since because it pisses me off so much. The roguelike games on the journey to have RNG be a part of the game mechanic, sometimes implement one mechanic that is so broken that no matter how good you feel like your run is, it just ruins it. And Balatros is, you can every turn basically you get like 4 or 5 different hands that you get to play. Except for sometimes you will run into bosses where the mechanic is you only get one hand. And no matter how good your run is, no matter how well you've catered it and you've strategically played the thing, you run into that mechanic and you just fucking lose. And I can't tell you how miserable it is for like 35 minutes to be working you're like, I was so confident, I got the run, I did it perfectly, I fucking engineered whatever, and then you run into that boss, and because it rolled on the hardest thing that just happened to be miserably countering every single hand basically, except for you could do a thing where one, anyway, sorry, okay, I digress.
Yeah,
Slay the
Sam,
Spire.
wait until I tell you that you can re-roll the blinds if you plan ahead.
Slay the Spire also has this same broken thing sometimes, and some other roguelikes do. It's one of my favorite genres, and it just pisses me off that this exists. Let's go over to Dub. Dub, who's your game of the year?
God, bitch about it. For me, like, I know better than to waste my time playing PlayStation, so I just get all of my information directly from Omar on anything PlayStation. And talking to him this morning, it was obvious that Astrobot clearly deserved Game of the Year because they used the PlayStation controller in the most complete and intuitive way compared to the rest of the games. And that's enough for a corporate win in my book if I've ever seen one. So props to Astrobot on utilizing the awesome DualSense controller brought to you by PlayStation.
What the fuck? What the fuck was that? I didn't expect anything that just happened to my ears. Let's go over to Kevin.
Thanks, man. I am a fan of this genre of game. I love platforms. I played every major platformer that there is. I love Super Mario 64. I love the Galaxy series. Mario Odyssey was incredible. In fact, I've said that there are 2 games that if they were announced, I would jump out of my chair and run around the living room like a little kid. One of those being a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey, the other one being a Chrono Trigger remake. Yeah, this genre is huge. And so seeing Astrobot, I played it. It was good, very good. It was a little weird, if a game of the year, I expect to be hit in the feels like all 5 ways or something, and I think Astrobot maybe only hit 3 or 4 of those. It was a very good game, but I feel like there's usually something extra special about a game of the year award. And it doesn't have to be next gen. It doesn't have to be open world. It doesn't have to be Unreal 5, right? It just has to be, it hits you in all the ways. And so, it was a little strange, but I agree with Knock, TLDR, that just because platformers may not be your thing, doesn't mean, it's not necessarily all suits. There's a panel of judges of industry experts, which, it has suits on the panel, but it's also got critics, journalists, developers, other professionals, just like the Web3 Game Awards, right? It's a mix of people so that it's not just, who has the most bags in the space, because you want it to be fair. And I do believe it was fair, although I will say out of the other nominees on that list, there were a couple that I would have chosen over this because they hit you in all the ways. Like that Final Fantasy Rebirth, man, was just a masterpiece. That game was so good. But, this game was quite good, and maybe it's just more of a little bit of a trend shift to just say like, hey, in the metrics that we are measuring, platformers are kind of cool and might be cool again in the future. I would love to see more of them, in fact, because they're great.
Man, you guys are crazy. It was clearly Black Myth Wukong, beautiful, culturally relevant, innovated on a genre that people love and has emerged over the last 10 or 15 years. I feel like that was the easy win.
That
Vidar,
was
what do you want?
also awesome, that game.
Sam, can I jump in real quick here? Because I gotta leave.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to say that some people might be confused because there's a version of Astrobot that comes with the PlayStation that's like your basic sort of platformer. Um, and then there's a version that came out this year, which was like sort of a love letter to all things PlayStation, and it throws you. No, sorry, my daughter's in the car. It like throws you into an Astrobot version of a bunch of classic PlayStation games, and you get to like replay, some of the hits, and so like when you're looking it up, just make sure that you look for the new one and not the original Astrobot. Also, Balatro is an incredible game, and I will not stand for any slander.
Real quick, Koji, who's your MVP of the episode?
My MVP of the episode is Kevin because he wants a remake of Chrono Trigger, which is like the greatest game ever made. So I'm on board.
All right, Kevin, taking home the early dub. Vidar, I want to hear your take on the game of the year, and then also give us your MVP, buddy.
God damn it, knock. I agree with you about the stuff about no expansions should be on Game of the Year award. I agree about that. But everything else that came out of your mouth was just ridiculousness. I can't believe it. In fact, I can't believe the rest of you. This is why gaming is dying. It's not just Web3 gaming is dead. Gaming is dead, and this is why not one of you mentioned Metaphor. It is one of the best JRPGs in years. Metaphor is an amazing game. Dub, get your thumbs down out of here. It is amazing. And not only that, I mean, we have a bunch of other games on the list, which, my opinion, to say that Astrobot, that everyone's saying Astrobot's the underdog, is a wild take to me. Western devs have had a stranglehold on gaming for so long outside of maybe Nintendo coming in with random hits, okay? The fact that China comes out with its first AAA title ever, like actually ever, destroys sales. People love it. It's a cultural phenomenon, goes wild, even though people don't even know anything about Journey to the West, is shocking to me. And then we have Metaphor and Balatro. Balatro is another insanely cool game with a great concept. But you have Astrobot, which is, yes, a family game. It has its own niche. I would definitely not put it as Game of the Year. So to come on and shout at me, knock, to tell me that Astrobot is the Game of the Year is insanity, and you should be punished. my MVP is also Kevin because Chrono Trigger is fucking amazing.
I'll back at you because Metaphor was amazing as well. I agree. Loved it.
Did Sam just die?
Oh, I did
Or
the
did
thing
my
where I double tapped it, so I muted myself, even though I thought I unmuted myself. Jerry,
Got
give me your
angered.
game of the year, and then also your MVP of the day. Then we'll go to Limbs.
Yeah, it was not Astrobot, whatever the game of the year was. It should have been Black Myth Wukong, in my opinion, or it should have been Balatro. Like it was just so clearly like nobody I know fucking played the game other than Kevin. Kevin's the first person I've talked to that like sat down and played the game. I think calling it a family game is wild because it was clearly Sony pulling a Marilyn Manson and removing a rib so they could blow themselves. Like, it was a fucking like, it just wasn't culturally relevant to me, it wasn't popular. Like I said, nobody fucking played the game, and, Black Myth was kind of a yeah, like, China, you're releasing a game that everybody fucking played for a long time. Yeah, that's highway robbery. I usually don't bitch about Game of the Year picks, because I think, there's always these years where it doesn't there's just, like, no real hit game comes out. This year, I think Black Myth was a clear winner. I'm surprised nobody brought up the point. Was Helldivers released like last year or something? Why were they not even in the fucking conversation? Is weird to me. Did
I
they
think they
release last
won.
year?
They won best multiplayer and like community voted or something, or best live service, something like that. There was so many categories. They won a
Yeah.
few, but they weren't in the running for this. No.
Which
And
is
recency bias is also a factor, right? Like it was out at the
yeah.
start of the year, I think.
Yeah, so that's very shocking to me. MVP is actually also just going to Kevin for only for the fact that he mentioned Chrono Trigger.
Jesus Christ! All right. Well, next episode, I look forward to Dub saying the words Chrono Trigger about 47 different times just so he can win MVP. Let's go to Lems, then we'll go back to Knock.
All right, I'll preface this by saying I fucking love PlayStation and Sony, and I am a pleblo and still on PS4. So when this thing came out, I was like, "What the fuck is Astrobot, and why is it winning Game of the Year?" Like, that is someone who literally loves playing PlayStation exclusives and Sony games, and I was still confused as to what the hell this was. And I thought Knock was going in a totally different direction when he listed off all those other games that won Game of the Year. I thought he was pointing out how like the caliber of all those games, and then Astrobot. Because when you look at that list, it feels out of place. Like if you had something like Black Myth Wukong there, it would feel like, oh yeah, this fits right in with all the previous year's winners. So it just feels like really strange. I subscribe to the PlayStation circle jerk, and people were just sucking each other off a little bit for this award, and that's kind of how it feels like with some award shows. But that's my take on it. And for MVP, I'm also going with Kevin because Kevin absolutely crushed today's episode. And I won't say it's because of Chrono Trigger. Like it's just Kevin just killed it today.
Dang, Kevin with the clean sweep. Let's go to Knock.
I am willing to die on this hill, and I also don't think Astrobot should have been Game of the Year. I said I started my sentence with that. I think it should have been Balatro. But the point is that part of the issue with gaming is that all we really want, and we said this before, is the same but different. Sekiro won, we saw Elden Ring win, now everybody's crying that Black Myth Wukong didn't win. It's the same but different. It's the same fucking games that has been winning Game of the Year for the last 5 fucking years. I think it's ridiculous to see something come in that does something different, that is maybe a little bit out of your age range, and to go, it's not quite Game of the Year just because I like to play the same genre of game that I can't actually beat because I don't have the skill ability to actually go through something like an Elden Ring or Sekiro or Black Myth. Like it's just ridiculous to me. I don't think it should have won. I really strongly believe it should have been Balatro. I think what they did was incredible. I think it's one of the most refreshing titles that we've seen over the course of the last 10 years. I absolutely loved that game. But just because my game didn't win doesn't mean the awards show is a sham, and that's the point that I wanted to push. Balatro was in the top 10 for player's voice, by the way, right? So it was a game that made it to the top 30, was in the top 10, came short of the top 5. So it's not like it wasn't a popular game from people who played the title. I don't know. I will die on that hill. It doesn't, just because the Game Award is a game that you wouldn't play doesn't mean it was not a legitimate award. Should have been Balatro.
That
MVP is Kevin for sure.
this was a strong year though for gaming, I think. And I think like for Astrobot to win in such a good year, I think that's where it feels bad, right? It's not that Astrobot's objectively a bad game. It's just that some of the other games that were in the nominees were just better games, I think, overall, like objectively.
Oh, I agree,
So
Jerry. I think all of the nominees were better games. My point is, you can't just discard the validity of the entire award because you disagree with a given winner in a given year.
It's so funny how other people's opinions can just make you so entrenched that you even make your own opinion feel untrue. Like I would have, if you asked me before this show, I would have given Balatro like a solid 8.5 or 9. Like I love that game, but now I would give it like a 5. Like I'm so fucking mad that you guys. It's so silly. Kevin is our unanimous MVP of the episode. I think he's got so many votes that even if somebody else swept, which wouldn't happen, that they might still lose. So, Kevin, take us away. 60 seconds of phase time. You get to plug whatever you want. Project O, can we get some alpha?
Oh man, I just have to say, if you know me, you know I have strong opinions, lightly held. I will change. I can change my opinion. You can change my mind fairly easily with data. But everyone voting MVP due to my comment on Chrono Trigger, I think firms up my opinion that what the F are they doing at Square Enix not prioritizing an HD remake of this game? Like clearly,
bring it in
gamers.
Unreal 5, baby.
Yeah, sure. In Unreal Engine 5, so like 5 people will be able to play it. But like they need to be making that. Like everybody wants to play it. Like how are they not thinking that that's a valuable remake? I can't even imagine. Like, is there some IP conflict that's keeping that from happening or what. I don't know, but that definitely needs to happen. As far as alpha on Project O, we are, we're having our collector campaign. If you're not signed up, connect to Project O. That's the letter O, not zero. It's that stupid font. .gg, and just connect your wallets, and we're giving you away free stuff. You have to do literally nothing. It's the definition of a no-brainer. We just want to party with y'all, and we're looking for people who have been in the space for a while with gaming and other NFTs. And then in Q1 next year, we are going to do a hands-on closed alpha where you'll be able to play, a polished corner of our game, see what you think. And then reach out to me between now and then, because we are doing private demos. If there are collabs or you just kind of want to see what we're cooking, I can probably show you a demo of the game. But between now and then, as long as you're willing to put on your sausage in the making pre-alpha hat.
Your sausage in the bacon. Yikes. If anybody is like me and they typed in projectzero.com after seeing the trailer or something, you can thank me for the reason that you didn't get fished, because I was like, guys, why is the website not working? And they were like,
No,
we're
we
gonna.
bought that. We bought projectzero.gg because people were doing that. So we have it now, and it redirects. We're all good.
My man, yeah, they bought it like 3 minutes after I made the comment, and I was like, dude, I did it. I saved gaming. We did it again. Now, big shout out to Kevin, Coin Games. Super excited about what they're building. If you haven't gotten the pitch, seen everything behind the scenes, highly recommend it. I liked it so much. I actually came on as an advisor not too long ago. So thanks so much for that, Kevin. Excited to see what you guys do over the next year. Let's give a frosty high five to the coolest crew on the mountain, Avalanche, the official blockchain of gamified. Why trudge through the sludge of slow systems whenever Avalanche makes launching your own layer one as effortless as gliding down a bunny slope? The lifts are running, the snow is falling, and the future of gaming is just a quick ride away. Don't let this avalanche of opportunity leave you in its wake. If you're feeling the chill and ready to level up, slide into my DMs, hit up Park, Wills, or Coop, or connect with the AVAX team directly. Just make sure you say the magic words Gamified sent me. Thanks to Avalanche for making Gamified the coolest show around. And of course, let's give a thunderous thank you to Star Atlas, the official game of Gamified and our interstellar sponsor. Star Atlas has spent the bear market building a universe, pushing Web3 boundaries and setting new standards in transparency and player ownership. With Sage, a test bed of their economy, they're already processing 3.2% of all daily Solana transactions, a feat that is no small step. And also, right before this, they actually had a town hall on Discord and on Twitter where you could have seen a ton of gameplay for their racing game mode. They've been posting gameplay all the time. I quote retweeted a thread where you can just see tons and tons of gameplay. They're shipping. 2025 is going to be huge for them. Super, super excited. Remember, with Star Atlas, you're not just a player, you're a pioneer. And of course, as we hit the final boss of today's adventure, let's give one last GG to Game 7, the team flipping the script on gaming's end game. Forget grinding for scraps, those pixel-powered pioneers are flipping the loot table with 80% of revenue going straight back to the players. You love to see it. Their tools are like cheat codes for developers and gamers alike. Summon to recruit players, Hyperplay to discover your next obsession, and of course, World Builder for crafting fair economies. With 150 games already on board, Game 7 isn't just pressing continue, they're breaking records. If you're ready to respawn into a better gaming future, visit game7.io and press play on the next era. Now I've got to take another minute and just say huge, huge, huge thank you, not just for today, not just for this month, but for the entire year, the last 2 years of you guys coming and giving me your time on this panel, and everybody in the audience coming, giving those retweets, those comments, and just being generally active participants of the gamified community. I love each and every one of you guys so, so, so much. Your friendly reminder that we will be at GDC again. Wolves Den is happening 2.0. A lot of announcements coming about that over the next couple of months. And please, if you're in San Francisco, come say hi to me and let me just say thank you and like buy you a beer for everything that you've done to change my life and make my dream come true by getting to talk to all these awesome gaming people and complain about why Balatro shouldn't have been game of the year, even though it wasn't, because for some reason my narcissism is just like stuck on that. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you. It's been an incredible year. We will see you back January 8th, I think, is the next episode. I'll put out some tweets about it, make sure everybody's on the same page. But holy shit, crazy that we're going to be taking a little bit of a break here. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. Lems, any final words before we sign off for the next couple of weeks, buddy?
No, that's going to be very surreal though. We have literally done Gamified every single week for almost 2 years now, and it's going to be surreal to have a couple weeks off. But when Gamified lands on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, I feel like it definitely it makes sense for us to skip these ones. And yeah, just echo your sentiments. Appreciate the support that we've had over the years. It's crazy to see how much the show has grown to what it is today.
Oh man, I don't get my weekly check-ins with Lems like every 2 or 3 days like we've been doing for 2 years. It's gonna be surreal. Happy holidays to you, buddy, and happy holidays to every single person that's still here listening. We love you guys. We will be back January 8th. Simplified also going to be coming back January 6th. Don't worry, we will be running those shows all year long. We've got a ton of sponsors, a ton of support, and lucky to have a great audience like you guys. The bull run's going to be surreal, so let's ride it out together. Can't wait, and we'll see you for Paisan and Kaggy's fight tomorrow. That's going to be crazy, guys. All right, have a good one. See you soon. Smooches.